Algebra 2 and you're asked to, quickly sketch a parabola, what are some of these key components that we could use to sketch a parabola? The vertex, yeah, which is the one that we didn't find yesterday. Okay, you can use the axis of symmetry, sure. That was from before the break. But we're talking about actual points. I mean, that doesn't have to be actual. The y-intercept, yeah, which you get from standard form. Like, look at this first one, number 1 that we're gonna do. Where is that gonna cross the the y-axis? At 24. And then yesterday, what was the main focus yesterday? What other points were we able to find? Some the x-intercepts, yeah. That's so. Like, if we were to compare here, of all those key points, right? Which is the one that you could find the quickest through standard form? Y-intercept. From all of those points, which are the quickest ones that you could find through intercept form? When we say intercept form, which intercepts are we talking about when we're in factored? Yeah, the x-intercepts. When you're in factored form, the x-intercepts. And then the last form, vertex form, that was pretty obvious, which is the one that can be quickly found through vertex form. The vertex, yeah. So if you were with me before we left on break, we actually did this already. I don't know how many other teachers have, but we did it. And then if you're new, well, you'll be able to tell me if you've done this before. There's really 2 ways to do it. How to convert standard form, which all of these are in standard form. There are no parentheses, and it's A, B, and C. The more mathy way of doing it is by completing the square, which that you did do. Everyone here should know how to complete the square. I don't recommend it. I think it's a little bit unnecessary. If anybody has a request and you want to see me do any of these by completing the square, I'd be happy to do so, but I really don't think that's something you're going to want. Okay. Here's what I would tell you to do, which is, all right. What were the 3 key values that we can identify in standard form, like the numbers? What are the 3 numbers that we can identify? A, B, and C. So the way I'm going to teach it to you, and I think this is the way the other teacher teaches it to you, is, okay, so here in this first one, A is 2, B is -12, and C is 24. Let's figure out how we can change those into the 3 key values from vertex form, which everybody here should know. What are the 3 numbers we can identify in vertex form? A, H, and K. Well, the good news is that the A transfers over. So if A in standard form is 2, A in vertex form is 2. Then the H and K, you need to use a formula. So if you were with me before, what was the formula that we used to find H? Who remembers? Good, wow, that's kind of nice. Write this down. I don't see it anywhere on here, so write this down. I'm just going to write this one time. After that, I'm just going to do it. Negative B over 2A. So now it's just substitution. If B is already -12, what would negative B be? Positive 12. Divided by 2 times A, which is 2 times 2. I know 2 times 2 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Then the way we find K can also be interesting. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. The way that we find K can also be interesting. But did anybody do this already? If you weren't with me, did anybody do this with their last teacher? Did they teach you how to? Okay. So the way you're supposed to find K is to get this value and substitute it into the original function. And if you feel comfortable doing that and you want to do it that way, you have my blessing. But I find that even if you know how to do it, you're still susceptible to careless mistakes. People make mistakes with signs. Sometimes people make mistakes with order of operations, and maybe like they multiply first and they should be doing an exponent first. So I showed my kids a shortcut. I'll do this first one the long way of substituting, and then I'll show you the shortcut, but I'm probably gonna do the shortcut going forward. Because this is something, it's something you should know anyways. You're gonna need it in Algebra 2. It's something called synthetic substitution. And I can tell you from my students when I did this before, the first time they're like, no, I don't want, oh no, that's too hard, I don't get it. And by the time we were done on everybody's quiz and test, I was looking almost everybody's, they were doing it that way. Because it's just a lot quicker. But let's do it first the long way, right? Let's evaluate this function at 3. If I were to plug in a 3 for the x's, that's what's going to give me k. 2 times 3 squared minus 12 times 3 plus 24. 3 squared is 9 times 2 is 18. Negative 12 times 3 is minus 36, and then plus 24. You put that in the calculator, that's negative 18, and 24, that's 6, and in my head, that's 6. Negative 18, that should be 6. So I know k is going to be 6. But let me show you another way of doing this. This is called synthetic substitution, or it's sometimes also called synthetic division, depending on what you're doing. What's the number we want to plug in? 3. So get 3 and put it like on a little balcony. Right next to that, you're going to write A, B, and C. 2, negative 12, and 24. I'm going to give a little bit of space, and then I'm going to draw a line. Every time you want to go below the line, you add. Okay, and every time you add, we're going to add straight down. Every time you want to go above the line, it's going to be multiplication. Every time you multiply, it's with the number that's up here in the little box. So start off getting A and dropping it below the line. This number that we're looking for, this K, is going to end up right here below the line under C. So if you were with me and you remember, how do I get back above the line? Multiply. Take the number that you just dropped underneath. What is, and every time you multiply, it's times this number here. What is 2 times 3? 6. Put it above the line, but in the next column. How do you get below the line? Add. Negative 12 plus 6 is negative 6. How do you get above the line? Multiply. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. And when you look at that, 24 minus 18. I know you think it's, oh, it looks weird. I'm telling you that's the reaction I got with the first time I showed this. You're gonna have to learn it anyways in Algebra 2, and it's not a lot of work. If anything, this is meant to be able to do it quickly, mentally, without. So that the first reaction I got was like, whoa, no way, that's too hard. And I'm telling you, from the test that I collected, was it Unit 3C before we left on break? More than half my students were doing it that way. So now that I have all the values I need, I'm running out of space, so I'm just going to erase this real quick. Write it down, and now it's on the video. Then the last thing you just have to do is know vertex form. Since I don't see it anywhere here on the paper, I'll write it down for you one time so you can write it. Okay, let's do it up here. It's going to be f of x, if that's what they're using, and not use y equals depending on whatever notation they use. F of x is equal to a parentheses x minus h. And what comes next? The square. And now just substitute. So this first one will be f of x is equal to, the a stays the same, parentheses. If h was 3, x minus 3, don't forget the square. That's a very easy thing to forget. And then plus 6. And that is vertex form. So that now, if I were to ask you, hey, where's the vertex of this parabola going to be? Sam, what would you say? I forgot. That was like over a month ago. Shobi, do you remember where the vertex is going to be? You want to ask Jada? No. Jada knows. Jason? Everybody should know that, how to find, now, especially now that we're in vertex form. Where can you locate the vertex? B money? Yeah, and where'd you get that 3 and 6 from? Vertex, H comma K. 3, 6. Facts. Any questions? I'll do one more for you, and then we're just gonna go one by one. I'm gonna let you start doing them until I find one that I think might be challenging, and then we'll do it together. Oh, by the way, one last question about number 1. What direction is it gonna face? It's gonna go up because of A. The only thing that we can't tell really directly, but because I know what this looks like in standard form. I now know what it looks like in vertex. The only form I didn't find was intercept form. So the only thing I don't directly know is what? Yeah, I don't know the x-intercepts. I would put it in intercept form if I wanted to. All right, let's do this next one here. We'll do this one together also. So they're gonna give me A, B, and C if you're in standard form. But I want A, H, and K. A is 5, B is negative 20, and C is 26. I know that the A is going to carry over, so that's taken care of. Marmy, how am I going to find H? You can write it down. Negative B over 2A. So H is going to be, if B is negative 20, then it'll be positive 20 over 2 times 5, which is positive 20 over 10, which is 2. So H is 2. But then I need K. If you want to go rogue and say, but Mr. Romero, I learned back in middle school how to substitute, and I really just want to plug in a 2 and do order of operations, then you have my blessing. That's fine. I'm not going to try to sway you one way or the other, but I am going to just do it the quick way, because why take a long time when you can take less time? I want to plug in a 2, A, B, C, skip a line, draw. Caleb, if you were following along the first time, what did I do first? Yeah, using synthetic substitution. Well, you always bring down the A. Bring down the A below the line. Whatever A is, just drop it down. Remember that the number I'm looking for, K, is going to end up there. How do you get back above the line? And every time you multiply, you do a little number in the box. You do it with H. So 2 times 5 is, and put it above the line, but in the next column. How do you go straight down? Negative 20 and 10 is negative 10. How do you get back above the line? Always times this number when you multiply. So 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. And then finally 26 minus 20 is 6. I could do it really, really fast. Well, I know I'm adding. I'm always adding, but when you're adding a negative, yes, it's the same as subtracting. 26 plus negative 20 is the same as 26 minus 20. And then now let's write, they had it in function notation, so I'll write it in function notation. F of x is equal to, the a comes first. Remember with the h, you got to change the sign. So if h is 2, I have to write minus 2 squared and plus 6. All right, see if you can do number 3. Raise your hand when you got it. Give me that function in vertex form. Yes, ma'am. Oh, 51. Why I invite you guys. Did anybody get it already? That wants to share? What'd you get, Sam? The function. Give me the function. F of x. Okay. Well, say parentheses. No, it shouldn't be x minus 2. It should be x plus 2. And then squared. And then what you get? Plus 3. Is that what you got? Plus 3 also? You got, okay, so you got. Oh no, it is plus 3. Okay, then you got the sign right. All right, so let's see. A, B, C, and A, H. 3, 12, 15. The A carries over. Let's find H. So H is going to be negative B, so that's negative 12 over 2 times 3, which should give you negative 2. Hey, Caleb, watch this. Ready? Watch. Bang. This is what K ends up being. I already knew H was going to be negative 2. So, f of x is equal to 3 and x plus 2, because you got to change the sign, squared and then. Sam, where's the vertex going to be at? If I were to ask you that. Yeah, negative 2, positive 3. It's just that in here, when you write it, you got to change the sign. Because remember the formula. The formula has a negative in it. So even though your eyes are seeing a plus 2, it's because it's a negative 2. Like the H is actually negative 2. If I were to ask you on that one, where the parabola is going to face, what What would you say? Okay. How about this? How about if I were to ask you what type of transformations this parabola has undergone? Yeah. Just to look at the function and tell me if you compare this to the parent function, which is just f of x is equal to x squared, how is this different than the original? What transformations have occurred? A vertical, say, could say vertical stretch by a factor of 3. No. No. A horizontal translation that is left 2. And a vertical translation of 3, yes. Yeah, let's do that with the first one. Let's do that with that's good practice for next week. Well, I already raised the first one, but how about the second one? What transformations did the second one undergo? Number 2. Like, what did we do? A vertical stretch of 5, yes. A horizontal translation to the right 2, yes. Vertical translation of 6. All right. You guys already skip ahead and do number 4? -1, -2, 5. -1. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, wow, sorry. Sorry. You gotta find H. You already got in the Kai? And then what I'm probably gonna, I'll do this one, and then I'll probably just cut the video off there. Just keep the video short, and then I'll let you guys finish the rest of the worksheet on your own, and then I'll just come back on here and do the rest of them after you do them. It seems like you guys are like wanting to go ahead, move ahead. H. So H is negative b over 2a. If b is negative 2, it would be positive 2 over 2 times negative 1, which is 2 over negative 2, which is negative 1. I just found H is negative 1. Then I'm going to plug in that negative 1. A, B, C. Okay, look. Watch. Drop this negative 1, multiply 1, negative 1, multiply 1. You get a K of 6. Okay? And this is one Jada where even if you were to get this negative 1 correct, I'd be really worried that there's a bunch of negatives all over the place here. And yeah, it could be done, but I just worry that you guys would make a mistake. I think with this method, so we end up with f of x is equal to, when a is negative 1, what goes outside of the parentheses? Just a negative. Negative parentheses. Sam, what's going to go in the parentheses? X plus 1. And don't forget the square. And then. So then, Brian, if I were to ask you what transformations has this parabola undergone, what would you say if you were to have to describe it like in sentences? You're not sure? You think Martha's sure? No, Martha doesn't think Martha's sure? Toby? Ingrid? You can answer this on Thursday. What transformations has this parabola undergone? This is what we did on Monday. We did the matching, and you guys were doing all awesome, and it was fantastic, and it was the greatest thing ever. So what transformations has that undergone? man. Jason, also give up. I know you know. Nakai, give it a shot. Come on.
I don't know.
You don't know it, but you know it?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Tell me everything else that you know.
Horizontal.
No stretch.
Oh. Oh.
So A is vertical stretch. H and K are translations, not stretches.
Oh,
Horizontal translation. One to the left, yeah. Vertical translation. 6 up, yeah. And then A does stretches, right, and compresses. But when A is 1, it's not gonna stretch or compress. But what A is negative. So what's that other little wild card thing that A does? That should be probably the most obvious thing that A does, because you've been knowing that A's been doing it since you were first introduced to parabolas.
Oh, the reflection.
Yeah, x-axis reflection, sure. Because if I were to ask you where's this parabola gonna face, what would you say? Down. It's negative, yeah. X-axis reflection. Okay. Let's just talk about some key components. If I were to graph this based on the 2 forms that we know, okay, we now know vertex form. We already knew standard form. What do we know about some of the points that would be on the graph? Y-intercept is going to be? Well, yeah, but where's the y-intercept going to be? At 5, and where's the vertex going to be? Negative 1, 6. Just for fun, if I were to ask you what is the equation of the axis of symmetry? That was from before. X equals negative. All right, so let's go. I'm going to cut the video there. I think that's enough of an explanation, and then I'm just going to give you until we get out here what, at 11 or at 12? At 12. So let's just go until noon. I'll give you like 9 more minutes to finish this, both sides, and then I'll just come back on here and do them, and we can compare, and if we need to figure out what we did wrong. So it's kind of like pretending like you're doing it on your own on the test. If you need help, I'll help you. Like it's not like we're not taking a test right now, but. Oh wait, I can already post the video. Yeah. So you got the 5, you multiply times 2. Multiply anything that you multiply with 2 times 5 is 10. And to get back down, you add a negative 20 plus 10 is negative 10. Now if you want to get back up, you multiply with 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. The adding part is easy as long as you add